Welcome back to Franco Fridays. Got another Franco film. Thanks to Severin. Severin released Cries of Pleasure, which I covered, I think, a week or so ago. This time we're going to cover another Golden Films production, and that is 1983's Night of Open Sex. Again, starring Lena Romay and Antonio Mayans. This is a bizarre mishmash of Nazis and lesbian sex and Lena Romay at her sexual best. I mean, it's loosely based on Edgar Allan Poe's book, The Golden Bug. What you got is Lena Romay is a nightclub dancer, and the film opens up with an 11-minute sequence, no dialogue, of Lena Romay writhing around in a nightclub on the floor, on top of a car. I mean, she was at her captivating best in this film. She gets involved in a Nazi gold hunt. Basically, there's some gold from World War II, and she's hooked up with this guy that's trying to find this gold. And in the middle of that, of course, they're torturing people that they think might tell about it. They torture this woman with a looked like a curling iron, and she puts the curling iron on her cha-cha. I mean, it's crazy stuff. You've got music by Daniel White, which is fantastic. The film was shot in Portugal, and Jess Franco was the cameraman. I don't recall why he ended up being the cameraman, but yeah, he directed and did the camera work on this. Shot in 81 in Portugal, released I think in 83. This is one of 6 films from the Golden distributor period. And it's basically somewhere between softcore porn and there's hardcore. I mean, it's in the middle somewhere. But it's a fascinating free-form exercise, as is a lot of the Franco films. Great music by Daniel White. You know, Franco's love of jazz comes through in this type of film. His general love of music, I think, comes through in this film. You've got this guy that looks like Bob Pinicotti from the '70s show with the boof hair. It's crazy. You've got lesbian sex, as usual. You've got pornographic magazine licking. You've got a wild scene where Lena Romay is like licking a porn mag. I mean, it's crazy stuff. One of the wildest Franco films that I've sat through in a while. I mean, you've got Gregorian chant music over top of this lesbian sex scene. It's crazy. This release from Severin is a 4K scan of the camera negative. It's got the colors look great. The blacks are a little bit, the blacks look okay, black levels, but there's some periods where the black doesn't look right. But I mean, you know, you can't expect something pristine from something like this shot in the '80s. So it's a mono track soundtrack, which it has a little bit of a background hiss, quite honestly, and you can hear it during the dialogue. But usually, when there's no dialogue and you've got just music, you don't hear the hiss too bad. There's some special features on this puppy. There's Stephen Thrower doing on location, looking in going back and look at the locations Franco shot in Portugal, which is excellent. That's about 15 minutes. You've also got about 20-minute interview with Stephen Thrower talking about this film in particular, and then you've got a 10-minute interview with Lena Romay and Jess Franco, and it's a part 1, and all those are parts 1s and 2s of the 2 film set that Severin released. So but I noticed after watching it, you don't need both, and there's no continuity. You don't need to worry about, well, if I've only got one of the films, I don't wonder what they said in part two. It doesn't seem to be any continuity that I can tell. I mean, it's just more information rather than a continuation of the discussion. So, but I would still recommend picking up both. I mean, as a Franco fan, this is, Franco was a free-form artist with a love of music and jazz, and the normal tropes of cinema and directing don't apply to Franco, and that's refreshing. I mean, I really enjoy his films, and I've enjoyed this one. I enjoyed Cries of Pleasure as well. It's not great. I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. But as cinematic art, I think it deserves to be talked about. So, yeah, that's going to do it for Night of Open Sex. And hey, get yourself some Franco films. There's nothing wrong with that. Great change of pace. If you have any of these Severin releases, or you've seen the film and have any comments about it, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And I appreciate you watching.